Hello, STEM class. I hope everybody's still doing well. My allergies are super bad, so I hope I make sense. So this video was to help you get that hollow cube taken care of. I know it looks confusing. Some people were posting it looks really tricky. That's what this video is for. So let's go to TinkerCad. We're going to create a new design. Every time you're going to make a new design, remember to give it the proper name. If we were still in school, I would remind you guys that every design should have your name, the date, class period, and then the name of the project. So we'll take care of that as soon as my screen pops up here. There we go. So to change the name, all you have to do is click on the name. I'm not going to use my actual first name, I'm going to use Mr. V. And then the date. And then this project is going to be called Hollow Cube. Click off of there. Second thing you should always do when you're working with TinkerCad is to drag a ruler into place so all the dimensions pop up. Makes it easier to double check the dimensions of your shape as you're working along. So we're going to drop that there. So the first shape we're going to bring out here is a box. Now this box is 20 by 20 by 20. We're going to have to stretch it out so that it's 50 cubed. I'm going to hold the shift key down, click on one of these corner squares with my mouse, and drag it out until it is 50 on a side. You could type it in. Just depends on my mood. Sometimes typing it in is a little easier. Okay, so now we got the shape of the cube that we want. I'm going to use the arrow keys to kind of move it over here to the side. Now a little trick to move it faster is to hold the shift key and then push the arrow, and it jumps over 5 spaces at a time. Might save you a bit of time if you're in a rush. Okay, so this is what the cube looks like so far, but we got to hollow it out. So if you notice above the box, you have this shadow box. These shadow boxes here are used to cut out from shapes. So if I were to take one of these shadow boxes and drag it out over here, you'll see that it looks hollow. That's because this would be cut away from here. So just to show you guys what happens, let me go ahead and group these two shapes together so that we get this corner cut off, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to line it up here by the front. We're going to leave it down here in the corner, but I want to take out this corner of the cube, so I'm going to click here, and notice how it kind of sits inside of there, and it gives you an idea of what the shape is going to look like if they're grouped together. So I'm going to select both shapes by pushing Control and holding Control down and then pushing A. So they're both selected together, and I'm going to click Group up here. Watch what happens. Okay. So the corner actually gets cut out. Okay, so that's what that shadow box does, but that's not what the assignment called for. So I'm going to undo, bring the shadow box over here, and we need to give it the correct dimensions in order to be able to cut out from the inside of this cube. So once this cube is hollow, you have these like edges here that are 1 unit thick. So if you just kind of do some math in your head, if this was 50 and one edge is supposed to be 1 unit thick, the other edge is 1 unit thick, that's 2. So 50 minus 2 would be 48. So that means that our shadow box here should be 48 long, and it needs to be 48 tall. Now we're going to use to cut out from inside of the box. So we want this actually deeper than 50. So I'm going to do 60. It doesn't have to be that long, but it kind of helps. It kind of helps us to see, if it's in the correct position by having it longer than it needs to be. So we're gonna, I'm gonna change the view here, so we're looking at it straight from the front, and you can see that this does appear to be just a tiny bit shorter than this. That's what we want. So let me do this. There we go. Let's align these two shapes so that they're both centered in the same spot. So we're going to select both by holding Control and then pushing A. And then I'm going to use the Align tool up here. So we want them centered in the middle. Okay. You'll notice that the shadow box did jump up a little bit. I wanted centered from front to back too. So you'll see this would jump back a little bit. And now we're going to center them right here in the middle of our work plane. Notice how, excuse me, that shadow box goes right through the center of the cube. Let's group them together. And you'll see now that we can look right through our cube. But it only looks that way for one dimension, though. It doesn't look that way for the side view or from the top. So the simplest way to do this, let me show you. I'm going to undo just so I can separate these two, is to take this shape and duplicate it and rotate it in 3 different dimensions so that it cuts out from our solid shape all at the same time. So in order to do that, I'm going to click the hollow box and I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. That way it cuts out the inside of the box in this direction. So I'm going to click off. I'm going to select the new shadow box that I just placed in here. Duplicate it. Oops, I pushed the wrong button, I believe. Sorry about that. So I'm going to select the shape again. Duplicate it. And then rotate it 90 degrees so that it is standing up now. So I'm going to rotate it so you guys can see what it looks like. Let's take all 3 of these shadow boxes and group them together. And I'm going to do that by putting this red dotted rectangle around it. To do that, if you hold down your mouse key with your left finger and drag across to the opposite corner, You can select all of them that way. If you're using your mouse, I believe if you hold the Shift key and drag your finger across the mouse pad, it does the same thing. Okay, so let's group these three together. I know that I did that right because it's 60 in this direction, 60 in this direction, and 60 in this direction. So they're all centered together. Now we're going to take this shape and center it with our solid box so that way it cuts out from all the directions. So I'm going to hold Shift, click the box. Might be working a little slow because I'm recording. Okay. So now both shapes are selected. I'm going to click the Align tool. So like everything is still aligned here as far as height goes. Everything looks like it's still aligned as far as depth goes because this dot is a little lighter. The only one that isn't lined up is here from the view from the front or on the length. So I'm going to click this dot. Now look carefully and you should see that there is this little red edge all along the front, top, bottom, side borders. That's what we want to see, and that should only be 1 unit thick. So the only way to make sure that I've done it correctly now is to group everything together. And if we did this right, there is our hollow cube. So just to give you a preview of what we're doing next week, we're going to take this shape and we're going to duplicate it and make a little bit of a frame. And like I said, that's next week. We'll worry about that then. Have a great weekend, guys. If you celebrate Easter, happy Easter to you as well. And first period, don't forget we do have our Monday meet at 10:30. I will be sending you guys the updated master schedule. They decided to move things up 30 minutes so that it matches full day a little more than it does now. Things are getting started a little earlier, so we'll see you then. Like I said, guys, happy holidays. Take care.